Yo everybody, what's going on? This is Keegan from Kman Reviews. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit that like and the subscribe button, and if you have any opinions at all that you would like to share, make sure to leave them down in the comment section. 21 Pilots, Scaled and Icy. 21 Pilots are an American dynamic duo led by singer, rapper, and producer Tyler Joseph and drummer extraordinaire Josh Dunn. A very heavy underground force throughout the early 2010s, the band shot up to mainstream relevance with their breakthrough fourth album, Blurryface, that contained the hits Stressed Out and Ride, which was then followed up by arguably their magnum opus, the immaculately produced and beautifully written Trench, a wonderful release that was critically acclaimed, and deservedly so. But now, we are here in 2021 with the band's sixth studio album, Scaled and Icy, an album I did not see nearly as much hype for as Trench had. A lot of people seemed very skeptical of this new pop-centric direction the band seemed to be going into, which honestly was a main reason why I was so excited for this album. For those who don't know, I'm naturally a pop fan, so after hearing the singles, the hype, at least for me, kept on building. But now, the full record is here. What are my thoughts on Scaled and Icy? Let's find out as I review this album track by track. We will start with the singles, with there being 3 of them. The first being Shy Away, which is an instant sonic departure from the material on Trench, and I'll be honest, I have loved this song since day one. It's very synth-heavy, it's upbeat and cheerful on a sonic level, the chorus has a simplistic groove behind that nostalgic drum and the blinking synth. Tyler Joseph sounds wonderful over this song. I love the melody all the way throughout. It's captivating, it's catchy, his voice really stands out in front of the mix and catches your ear. Despite the drastic shift in sound, this is still very distinctly 21 Pilots, which in retrospect is kind of crazy how they can capture such a broad spectrum and still call it their own. Lyrically, diving into the deep end, the song has a pretty inspiring message, being about a conversation Tyler had with his brother Jay, and how stimulating the experience of working on music with Tyler was for Jay. So this song is basically Tyler telling him, don't shy away from finding this creative purpose in life, go pursue your dreams. Great message, great tune, great song. The second single, Choker, took me a little bit of time to properly warm up to, and after a while, I found a pretty good song. This one has another very gripping melody, following a similar format that Shy Away had, where his voice really pops out and leaves that lasting impact on the song. I still do think instrumentally the song comes off a little bit frail. There's not really a worthwhile punch for such a quicker tempo, especially on that verse, where the only thing accompanying Tyler is a sputtering percussion and bubbly synths. The chorus is completely glorious, however, with the rippled, distorted synth and the reverb-enhanced vocals. It feels very grand, even if it is pretty brief. I also think the rap verse at the end was okay, definitely felt like an homage to their earlier material, but I can't shake this sensation, it just feels so tacked on, doesn't really mesh that well with the vibe of the song. Lyrically, it tackles a roller coaster ride of emotions, opening with our protagonist who remains very reserved and is suffering mentally, where choking in this case is meant to mean being flooded and consumed with depressing thoughts. But as the song progresses, the light finally starts to reveal itself, and our narrator here ends the track on a newly positive and hopeful attitude. Also, by the way, to any of the diehard Click theorizers out there who have watched this far in the video, yes, I am aware the song may have some underlying connection to Trench and Dima and the Banditos and all that, but I think going forward in this review, I'm going to try to put those connections aside and just look at this as like an individual album, as I don't think that information is required to enjoy this, although I will bring it up later if I think it's important or just a nice little tidbit to add on. Anyway, with all that said, the track is still good and will likely warm up to me more with repeated listens, but it's certainly not an album standout at all. And the third and final single, Saturday, may just be my favorite out of the 3 singles. This one's a pure feel-good bop. It even opens up with that echoed, faded effect before the verses come in, with that keyboard melody and the light, vibey drums, before that chorus punches its way with an amplified version of the verse. Heavier drums, even a tambourine. It's so infectious, and it's all courtesy of producer Greg Kurstin, and I think he blends in really well with this new sound for the group. Plus, in my opinion, Tyler's voice has always had such a knack for a good pop chorus. It was one of the most underappreciated elements of Blurryface in my opinion, and I think he really shines in this regard on this track, and most of the cuts later on too. Also, I do like the brief interlude near the end of the track between Tyler and his wife Jenna, with him telling her that if you have that inspiration, go for it. I'll be back here, but focus on this music first, which is totally couple goals. Lyrically, the song is just about how the weekday is strenuous and exhausting, but then when the weekend arrives, it's all smiles and emotional replenishment for Saturday. Honestly, it's fun, it's a banger, it's positive, and I adore it. Great song. Now for the rest of the tracks. Opener Good Day is immediately different than most 21 Pilots openers. You have Ode to Sleep on Vessel, Heavy Dirty Soul on Blurryface, Drum Suit on Trench. All of those come out with guns blazing, either with a fast, in-your-face rap or just a very intense riff or melody to really sucker you into the record. Good Day does neither, instead opening up with a light piano that sounds very close to an Elton John song with how much swing it has. The whole thing has a very sunny, cheery tone to it with Tyler's light-hearted vocals and delicate falsettos. However, these lyrics couldn't be any more negative, with Tyler imagining what it could be like if he lost all that is close to him, in this case being his wife and daughter, and undergoes the first stage of grief, denial, calling the day a good day, which corroborates with the instrumental. This is a pretty good song. The Outside, honestly, may just be my favorite track on the record. I adore this one. The opening, plunky, playful synth melody combined with the steady, simple, and yet compelling drums. Instant groove. And hearing Tyler in this slightly more monotone, deeper voice actually helps this track and really makes sense when you take into account the lyrical content, which is actually expressing his criticisms with the music industry, and how a lot of popular music nowadays can come off as very repetitive and colorless, as literally stated in the first line of the song, "I'm already bored. I'm pretty sure I've seen this all before." Plus, I'd be underselling this track if I didn't mention that gripping bass line and the rapping on the bridge, which is also really nice. I do think that could have gone on for a little bit longer. It's a little bit too brief to leave that much of an impact, but as a whole, the track bops. Great song. Never Take It is easily one of the most hard-rocking tracks on the album. There's a constant looming and gritty stadium rock riff accompanying the beeping synth, pounding drums, and claps. It certainly is a unique instrumental, especially with that chorus which feels very poppy, with the harmonies and clean vocals from Tyler. This all probably sounds like a giant smorgasbord of genres and ideas I've described, and sure, there are definitely moments where they don't really come together harmoniously, notably the verses where it does feel a bit scattershot, but there are parts where it works, like the aforementioned chorus, and the simple groove on the bridge where everything gets stripped back to a minute guitar melody, building up to the chorus in a very fluid manner, before it climaxes with a guitar solo that really shines. Lyrically, the song tackles the toxicity of media corporations profiting off of the divides of the people in regards to politics, religion, race, sexuality. Not a bad song. I can definitely see this one being a pretty divisive one amongst fans, though. Mulberry Street returns to a bit more of an upbeat tempo present on earlier tracks of the record, and I know this is a comparison that literally everyone else has made, but it is so obvious and I can't help but agree. It really does sound like an Elton John song, specifically that piano and drums sounding near identically to Benny and the Jets. It is so noticeable once you hear it. But unlike Benny and the Jets, this one has a faster tempo, a much livelier vibe, and overall a more positive sound, really displayed on the jam that is the chorus. I do really like the slower, more heartfelt bridge that jumps into an eclectic section with the pitched, repeated vocals, the primary slaps of the percussion, and even the trumpet work that ensconces its way into the background for the duration of the song. Lyrically, the track is named after a Mulberry Street near where Tyler and Josh grew up, but more accurately, it's probably the street in New York City because the lyrics here describe this metaphor of feeling out of place or somewhere you've never been before. Pretty solid tune. Formidable is a good song, I will say that, and I'll get to why, but I do have my gripes with this one. The main reason why this one doesn't do all that much for me is because I feel like 21 Pilots have always had a unique sound, even when they're spanning genres. You could hear it on Trench, on this album here, even on the debut. It still very much felt like their own style, their own music. And I feel like this is the sole exception to that. This is the one song in their catalog where I feel like if you switched out the band with another one doing this style already with the same instrumental, not much, if anything, would actually change. Everything here just feels so safe for the band, and in a discography loaded with experimentation, ambition, signature sounds, safe is kind of the last thing your music should be. Again, I will reiterate because I feel like I've been coming off as negative, the song is still good. That airy, breezy guitar, soft drums, and Tyler's melodious delivery, it's pretty sugary sweet like a lot of the electronic touched pop rock in recent memory. And the lyrics here back up that vibe, which is seemingly Tyler singing directly to Josh Dun, and how he views him as like a partner in crime, two halves of a whole band, if you will. Still a good song, but definitely the most cookie cutter on the album. Bounce Man is apparently one of the most polarizing tracks on the record, even within the clique themselves, and to an extent, I can kind of see why. As the title would suggest, the song has a pretty playful bounce to it. The snapping percussion, claps, and that acoustic guitar add a summery brightness to the tune that definitely is a little bit of a clash hearing Tyler's vocals over it. Plus, there's also what's essentially a drop after the chorus that has absolutely zero climactic boom to it. The song is very short as well, just barely crossing the 3-minute line, and because of that and its relaxed instrumental, it doesn't have much time to leave an impact sonically. Lyrically though, my god, I've seen so many different interpretations to this one. Some try to connect it with escaping Dima, others have tried to pin it to Ned, their own little fictional character from the Chlorine video. I've even seen some people try to connect it to Message Man off Blurry Face, which some of those definitely make sense, but if you look at it objectively, it may even just be about a friend of Tyler's who's a little bit down and out as he recommends starting over a new life in Mexico specifically, which is a wholehearted message. Regardless of that lyrical complexity, I personally think this is the weakest on the album. No Chances begins this really unique closing segment of the record between this one and the next track, and immediately this one is significantly darker than anything else on this record. It's really quite fascinating how sudden this tonal shift really is, going from Bounce Man to this. The abrasive synths, the thunderous rumbling bass, and those chanted vocals really sounding like a cult chorus, but it all just fits so well. The verses aren't much lighter, with Tyler delivering pretty solid rap verses over the same rippling bass and sputtering percussion reminiscent of some more generic trap beats. The chorus is the sole sunny spot here. The piano is warm and graceful before that chant comes back in. Lyrically, this is one of the few tracks here that actually does seem to have a direct connection to Trench, where that was meant to be a metaphor for escaping this city, or just escaping the darkest thoughts in his head. In Trench, there are 9 bishops ruling over the city, which is called Dima, and this is the track that is meant to be the representation of what those 9 bishops think about people trying to leave. I know that's extremely oversimplified, and I'm sorry to the clique theorizers out there, but I just don't have the time or frankly the desire to go through the entire history of Trench in this review. Maybe I'll cover Trench at some point so then I can get into it, but for now, I think the song is killer. Great tune. And finally, the closer, Redecorate, certainly isn't that dark sonically, but it's definitely up there lyrically, painting this picture of what may end up happening when you pass away and how such will affect your friends and especially your family, symbolized by this uncertainty of what may happen to your bedroom. Will it just get repurposed, refurbished, or will they keep it up for the memories, a reminder of what was once good? A very well-written metaphor, and musically, the track certainly has the tension to back up that theme. It's a very great conclusion to an otherwise jubilant and colorful album. The synths are pulled back, really just used to maintain a decent melody, while the flatness of the drums is front and center. Tyler's vocals in the verses are under this robotic, hollow effect spoken in third person, while the chorus in first person is much more emotional and fervent. I love that dynamic, switching in and out of perspectives. This is a beautiful closer. Overall, I know this is a very controversial and divisive record in the fanbase, and I have seen a few people dismiss the record, but honestly, I really enjoyed this album. Maybe it's just the life of a pophead where I will naturally gravitate to anything with a catchy beat or a chorus, but I thought the lyrical content here was very well written. Not to mention this brand of light, nostalgic, shimmering pop rock kind of suiting the band, and while sure I can agree that it's no Blurry Face when it comes to punchy, captivating melodies, it's no Vessel when it comes to instantly memorable hooks and verses, and it's certainly no Trench when it comes to enthralling storytelling, But I think we need to look back at what Tyler said this album was meant to be. Scaled back and isolated. And I think that was nailed pretty well here. It's not going to be a favorite in the discography at all, but it's upbeat, it's fun, and still captures that 21 Pilots specialty of pairing delightful instrumentals with some often relatable and touching lyrics. I'm feeling a strong 8 out of 10 on this one. I really enjoyed this. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.